And we are live. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Stokastic Fantasy Football Channel. It's week 4. We got a lot to talk about. Most of you got your waiver wires running this morning or maybe early this morning last night. And now it's time to dig into the matchups. And we got everyone's favorite, Nick Lepri at Notorious FNTSY, back in the house today. It was fun having Andy Francis on, but it feels a sense of normalcy. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great today. Hopefully everyone is having a great day as well. Let's get pumped up and have a great time today. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream yesterday. I was not able to catch it. Maybe I'll go watch it later. But thank you guys for coming. And make sure you guys hit the like button while you're here. It really does help the stream out a ton.
Imagine being here on time. The point is, it's 10 a.m. Eastern for everyone on the Eastern time. On Eastern time. So, yeah, sometimes we start at 10:01. That's how it goes. But what's up, guys? Ron the GOAT. Great to see you in here. Alex, we're definitely going to get to your question. Hit us up in the chat with questions. As you said, Nick, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, the notification bell so that you know when we go live. Follow him at Notorious FNTSY. If you want to follow me at Draftaholic as well, much appreciated, not required. We're talking running backs today, and yeah, you want to just dig right into this one? You want to get into tier 1 right away?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I'm going to throw these up onto the stream. All right. Some familiar names. Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, absolutely balling out. But then number 2, we got to talk about him. Jamal Williams with DeAndre Swift, almost a lock to miss this one. He's hit tier 1. What do you think of this tier?
I like it. I like Jamal Williams a bunch. Now, Jamal Williams was a guy that for the last couple of weeks, he was a nice pest for your lineup, right? He was a guy that when you had DeAndre Swift, he was screwing you over. But now, Jamal Williams is in the position to legitimately carry you up against the Seattle Seahawks. He could finish as the number 1 running back on the week, and that is not even an exaggeration. Jamal Williams has been incredible thus far this season. He hasn't seen a bunch of work, but this week he will obviously be the guy. Sucks for DeAndre Swift. I have DeAndre Swift in a couple of leagues, and I don't have Jamal Williams, which is tough scene. But at the end of the day, up against Seattle, this is an incredibly good matchup. I like him a ton. And then obviously the other guys that are in this tier, they're kind of no-brainers at this point. It seems as though I was wrong about Nick Chubb. Maybe he's not as boring as I thought. Up against Atlanta this week. Very exciting.
Amazing matchup. Absolutely all systems go for a player in Nick Chubb. Could Kareem Hunt come in and score 2 touchdowns any given week? Absolutely. But are we playing Nick Chubb with absolute supreme confidence against the Atlanta Falcons' porous rush defense? 100%. And then what can you say about Saquon Barkley? There's no reason the Giants offense, anything on the Giants offense should work. And yet Saquon Barkley just makes things happen. An unbelievable run, a really solid fantasy performance. You know the run I'm talking about. That touchdown run was sweet. Were you at that game?
Yeah, I was at the game. It was awesome. But the Giants are awful. It was awesome to see Daniel Jones in person, look like an idiot. Brian Daboll also confuses me. When it's the fourth quarter and you're down by a touchdown, maybe you should, instead of punting on 4th down and there's 4 yards to go, maybe you should try to throw the ball. I don't know. Maybe that's just me playing too much Madden or something, but I would have went for it.
Just you, totally just you.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That makes all the sense in the world to me, just not to the coaching staff of the New York Giants. Sammy Telesco, shout out to you, man. You're always in here over at the Stokastic DFS channel as well. Shout out to the Buffalo War Pigs, better and best ball. What's up, man? And Ron the GOAT's here as well. Oh, all the familiar faces. Last I checked, you're probably starting these tier 1 running backs. So let's get to the more interesting decisions, shall we? We'll hit up tier 2. All right, let's go full screen. And this is where we'll start to talk about your question, Alex, right off the bat. You see Khalil Herbert at 11. Now, if you look at our Stokastic projections, if you're a DFS subscriber, you will see David Montgomery in this slot right now. That's just the way we run our projections early in the week. But just as a placeholder, based on how I'm seeing this, how I'm reading the tea leaves, I'm moving Khalil Herbert into that top 12 spot. How are you feeling about this, Nick? And I think it goes directly into Alex's question. So we'll roll it in. How do you feel about Herbert? And then how do you feel about this start-sit decision from Alex?
Yeah, so I'm assuming, obviously, that Montgomery is going to miss. On the Sunday Night Football live stream that I'm on, me, Terry, and EMAC, I talked about 2 weeks ago that I think Khalil Herbert is a more talented running back than David Montgomery. And then, of course, after saying that, 1 week later, David Montgomery gets hurt. Khalil Herbert looks incredible. This team does not trust Justin Fields at all. At least that's my read on it, right? If they trusted Justin Fields, then they wouldn't run the ball 7,000 times a game like they are the fucking Army offense in college football, right? So they're going to keep running the ball, and Khalil Herbert's incredible. The matchup is definitely decent for Khalil Herbert up against the Giants defense. Obviously, not the most favorable, but still pretty solid. So I would go Khalil Herbert strongly over Devin Singletary, and I think he honestly could finish this week inside the top 5. Your mic's muted. Sorry.
Thank you. This is a no-brainer for me, Alex, as well. It's Herbert as long as Montgomery is out. I agree with you, Nick. Small sample size, young season, but in true yards per carry, Khalil Herbert's number 4 in the NFL. In yards per touch, number 3. Number 9 in evaded tackles per touch. Number 10 in rushes turned into rushes of 10 or more yards. Sounds like a good football player to me. In this tier, you got Dalvin Cook questionable in the London game against the tough New Orleans rush defense. That's not my favorite matchup. Austin Eckler has been held completely in check as a rusher essentially this year, and he's in more of a timeshare than any of us expected. Honestly, Leonard Fournette and is up there with Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara as the safest options in this tier 2, no?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Leonard Fournette has yet to find the end zone. He told us last week that he was going to score. He said fantasy owners don't panic. Well, where was that touchdown, Lenny? You fat fuck, all right? You got to score for us. But at the end of the day, I like Leonard Fournette. Up against the Kansas City Chiefs on paper, this should be a high-scoring matchup. So I like that. And then I completely agree with you that Alvin Kamara is incredibly safe. I'm starting to panic on Austin Eckler again. Not full panic. I'm not trading him away, but oh man, that role that I thought he was going to have just doesn't exist in LA, right? They don't want to just use him. They want to use other backs, which it's fine for real life, right? If you're the Chargers, but it's not the best for fantasy,
I'm worried about them for real life. The very first show about the 2022 season we did way back in, I don't know, March, we were talking about just the outlook of these teams given complete health, the most optimistic outcome. And we said the Chargers had the talent to win the AFC outright. Not going to look like that right now. Rashawn Slater, torn biceps, out for the season. This offensive line is in shambles. Joey Bosa out for significant time on defense. Justin Herbert's got cracked ribs. It'd be nice if they just got Austin Eckler the ball out in the flat and just see what he can do. But right now, we're relying heavily on receptions. I will say he's number 1 in the NFL in total receptions right now, averaging 7 catches per game. So if you're in a full PPR league, that's your saving grace. Alvin Kamara has not looked efficient at all this season, and it's kind of sad to see him at 14. I don't think you can knock him out of tier 2, but how are you feeling about Alvin Kamara going forward?
Yeah, my confidence isn't like at a maximum. I still think he's a great player, and I still think the upside is there. Like last week, he got 7 targets. He had 15 rushes. It just didn't amount to much, right? When you get 7 targets, you only get 2 receptions, 12 yards. That's not the greatest. Mark Ingram, I believe, scored last week. Is that going to happen every week? Of course not. But am I 100% confident in Alvin Kamara like I was? In August, I was 100% Kamara's a steal in the second round. Kamara should be a first-round pick. Whereas now I'm like, maybe Kamara was worthy of a second-round pick. I think Jameis Winston turns it around as well. But again, this isn't just a situation that I'm in love with like I used to be.
I will say this. Minnesota's rush defense isn't spectacular. And what I really like to see, we know he got banged up in week 1, so I have to take the fact that he only had 13 total opportunities with a grain of salt. Comes back in week 3 after a week off and gets 22 total opportunities. 22 opportunities is RB1 territory. He just didn't make much out of it. And, of course, gets a touchdown vultured from him as well. Anybody else you want to highlight in tier 2, or we can head on to the tier 3, the tough decisions, if you will?
Yeah, Josh Jacobs for me. He's a guy that I was kind of in on him early on in the offseason, but it just seems like the Raiders might just not be good enough to give Josh Jacobs the value we thought he was going to get, right? Like, the reason why I like Josh Jacobs was because I thought, hey, this team's going to move the ball. They're going to get into the red zone. And even if they throw the ball a couple of times, it'll be okay because Josh Jacobs will eventually score because they're going to score so many points. That's not the case right now. Kind of sucks.
Josh Jacobs is running back 5 in running back opportunity share, and he's running back 30 in fantasy points per game.
Yep.
That is almost amazing, almost amazingly sad. But yeah, I agree. And the matchup against Denver is not fun, but again, fantasy football is a volume game. The volume is there, and that's what we're chasing. Will he be in tier 2 forever? Probably not the way that he's playing. Let's move on to tier 3 here. And this is where things get spicy, in my opinion. I think there's a ton of talent here. But the things that I want to point out first are the players who were surprised to see all the way down at this spot. Najee Harris, sorry, you can't really put him much higher than high tier RB2 at this point. And in fact, I'd rather play Cordaro Patterson straight up against Cleveland. Javonte Williams, I think, is a little controversial to have this low, but we've seen for 2 straight weeks how it can go a little bit poor. And then we got Mike Boone in the fray now for the Denver backfield. So if he's going to be splitting this much time, I am concerned. The player I think should be ranked higher is James Robinson. Tough matchup this week against Philadelphia. I'm actually really excited for this Jacksonville-Philly game. Anybody else you want to highlight in this tier 3? This is a good value tier, in my opinion, this week.
Yeah, I want to talk about Antonio Gibson. Last week, everyone who had Antonio Gibson was incredibly lucky for him to find the end zone. If Antonio Gibson did not score that game, he would have scored what, like 4 points? Oh, that's what he had 10 points. So 4 plus 6 is 10. So yeah, he was playing awful. The Washington Commanders offense, absolute dog shit in that game. I worry about Antonio Gibson. I kind of waved the flag last week about, hey, Brian Robinson's going to return. It seems more and more likely that it could legitimately be next week. And if Brian Robinson returns and looks like Brian Robinson did in training camp, then the team is going to give the job back to Brian Robinson if Antonio Gibson continues to average 3.1 yards per carry. I talked about this in the waiver wire video on Notorious Fantasy by Stokastic, but I genuinely think that Antonio Gibson, this is the worst he's played in his career. In his rookie year, I think he was averaging 4.3 yards per carry. Now he's all the way down to 3.1. I don't know. I'm just not sold on Antonio Gibson. And if I had him, if he has one more big week this week, before there's any talk of Robinson potentially coming back, I'm getting him the fuck off my team.
He is such a sell high. You're absolutely right. 14 fantasy points per game in PPR leagues. That's running back 12. 17 expected fantasy points per game, meaning he's underperforming expectation by almost 3 fantasy points. Could that be luck or randomness? Absolutely. But then you look at the advanced metrics. 43rd among running backs in yards per touch. 57th in true yards per carry. 51st in yards created after the line has finished blocking. He really can't create much on his own. Oh, we got some super chats. Alex White. Hey, man. Thanks for coming in early, asking a question, hanging out, and we appreciate the love. You just traded for Jamal Williams, a tier 1 running back, so long as DeAndre Swift is out. Thank you, Nick. They play Seattle, who has allowed 4th most yards to back. Herbert is playing the Giants, averaging 5.4 yards per carry. Look at you with the analysis. 2nd worst in the NFL, but New York only allowed 1 touchdown. Now, Alex, you're thinking about this fantastically well. Touchdowns are fickle. Touchdowns are based on scheme and often are random. Not random in the sense that they don't care who gets the ball, but they vary tremendously from week to week. These yards per carry numbers, especially after a quarter of the season, they start to really settle down. So I do think the way that the matchups go this week, you're playing Jamal Williams over Khalil Herbert, especially because we have certainty in the sense that DeAndre Swift is not going to play and Montgomery might. But what do you say, Nick? Is this as easy and cut and dry as I'm making it?
Yeah, I personally think so. Now, obviously, the touchdowns, Jamal Williams could have scored 4 touchdowns last week. He could score 0 against Seattle. But based upon his workload, he saw 20 rushes last week, 2 touchdowns. He's also going to be seeing some targets now. He's obviously not going to be fucking Austin Eckler or Christian McCaffrey in terms of receptions, but he saw 2 targets last week. He could see 4 if he's playing the full game and get a slight boost on that as well. I would definitely play Jamal Williams. The matchup is amazing. This Detroit Lions offense looks legitimately good. And when Jameson Williams comes back, this might be literally one of the best offenses in the National Football League. I think that up against Seattle, you have to play Jamal Williams. Now, does that mean that Khalil Herbert is a bad play? No, it just means Jamal Williams is the better play.
In schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed, that just adjusts fantasy points allowed based on the opponents that the team's already played and how they perform against everyone else. The Giants are 25th in the NFL in that metric. One of the worst teams in the NFL. Seattle is 31st, second worst in the entire league. You're in a good situation, Alex. Thanks again for the super chat. Mike, thank you as well, sir. Good morning. James Conner or CEH at the flex this week? We have James Conner significantly higher right now. What do you say, Nick?
Oof, I think I would go with James Conner as well. CEH obviously also put up one of those all-time performances where you get like 4 yards, but somehow score a touchdown. So congratulations to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But I still think Clyde Edwards-Helaire has the juice. Like, I still think he's a decent start weekly. He's been running back 6, 10, and 17 over the last 3 weeks in half PPR. So he's been good, especially for where you drafted him. I would lean with James Conner. The matchup for CEH is quite concerning up against the Buccaneers defense. Now, again, the Buccaneers defense isn't necessarily the Buccaneers defense from a couple of years ago, but I definitely feel a lot more comfortable rolling James Conner out up against the Panthers defense, which to me is not the greatest either. James Conner, you can go. Sorry.
No. I was just saying they're okay. The Carolina defense isn't scary to me. That's all.
Yeah, and James Conner's workload has been pretty low. 10 rushes, 7 rushes, 13 rushes. He gets a decent amount of targets. He hasn't been the best. He hasn't finished as a top 12 running back in half PPR once, but he was playing up against Kansas City, Vegas, and the Rams. This week he gets Carolina, so I think he kind of breaks the mold, and I hope that this Cardinals team starts looking better because, to be honest, they seem like a disaster.
Right now, not looking fun at all. This is an interesting one. Dillon, Hunt, or Harris in the flex. I assume you mean Damien Harris, and he's out for me. So it's really A.J. Dillon or Kareem Hunt for you, Nick.
Yeah, I'm gonna go A.J. Dillon. Again, we are going to witness this every week. I talked about this last week. I like Aaron Jones more, but there's a chance A.J. Dillon outscores him, and there's a chance that neither of them are any good, and that's kind of what we saw last week. This week up against the New England defense, obviously not the best matchup, but I'm going to go with Dillon. If you want the safer floor play, I guess you could go Hunt, but I would go Dillon.
I think Dillon against a Patriots team that's going to be inept with Brian Hoyer at the helm is going to be just fine. Speaking of inept with Brian Hoyer at the helm, I like Ramondre Stevenson, Miso. And what's up, man? Good to see you again. Ramondre Stevenson is a talented player, but I'm taking a starting running back on the Cowboys in Ezekiel Elliott for sure. If you were offered Zeke, that's pretty easy. Straight up yes for me.
Yeah, if you thought Zeke looked slow on TV, imagine seeing Zeke in real life. The guy legitimately runs like he's on -5 speed. It's embarrassing to see how slow he is, but he's going to keep getting the ball. The team believes in him. When Tony Pollard comes into the game, the Giants fans around me were nervous. When Zeke was out there, they were like, hell yeah, this is exciting. Zeke doesn't look good, but I would start Zeke over Ramondre Stevenson. I don't want anything to do with this Patriots offense this week until Mac Jones comes back.
It's going to be he might get put on IR and he might not see the field rest of season. I'm serious.
Yes.
That's in the range of outcomes this year. Zero Destroyer, what's up? Would Patterson and Christian Kirk for AJ Brown be a good trade? Your RBs are Henry and Mixon. Your receivers are Devonte Empty and Curtis Samuel. It really depends on how many wide receivers you're starting. I probably want the AJ Brown side of that trade. How about you?
Oh, I would disagree. I would want Patterson and Kirk. Kirk could easily outscore AJ Brown. Do you see that potentially happening? Because Kirk is just this Jaguars offense looks good.
It's in the range of outcomes. I just think AJ Brown is he could be at the wide receiver 1 at the end of the year.
Yeah, but he also has Henry and Mixon and like Cordaro Patterson. Realistically, if someone gets hurt, Patterson will slot in your lineup every week, and you'll be excited about it, right? Patterson's had multiple top 5 games already.
You're right. I'm still undervaluing Cordaro Patterson, man. The ageless wonder. That team in Atlanta, we were mentioning it yesterday on the show with Andy Francis, that they've scored 26 or more points in every single game so far this season, and they have another matchup where they could put up points once again.
Yeah.
Cordaro. Yeah, man.
Yeah, he's rushed for over 120 yards twice already. He's a good player. It's truly shocking that, like, they could just dust off the fucking coffin of Cordaro Patterson, throw him out there 10 years later, and he's amazing. Truly inspiring. You can do anything, guys.
I just have to say this because I am a fan of Keenan Allen. Don't give up on him. He's going to be back this week. I realize it's a draft regret because he just hasn't been available for you. But I think he's still a really good player with a really good quarterback. Usually good things happen eventually. You ready to hit the outside the top 25 running backs? We got about 20 minutes to go here on this fine Wednesday. Thanks for everyone hanging out. Let's do it. So let's hit tier 3. Oh, that's tier 4. Tier 4. Where's tier 3? Oh, that was tier 3. That's why. Tier 4. For why? Damien Pierce, your boy. Here he is. 26.
Yep.
29, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There's Devin Singletary. I think he's a little low. What do you think about this tier? I think there's a lot of talent here.
My boy Damien Pierce is back. Remember when Cam Newton scored last year and he screamed, "I'm back"? That's what Damien Pierce is, baby. He's back. I told you guys, don't panic. Don't cut him. The king is here. Lovie Smith loves this guy. 20 carries last week. 1 tug. 80 rushing yards. Top 10 running back in half PPR. Now he gets the Chargers. The Chargers defense doesn't look like the Chargers defense that I initially thought, right? If you can't stop the Jaguars offense, and what makes me believe that you can stop the Houston Texans? Now, the Houston Texans kind of lost that game for themselves. Davis Mills choked immensely against the Chicago Bears, but I'm all aboard the Damien Pierce train. I've been all aboard the train for the last months. Actually, probably since the draft happened, I honestly said Damien Pierce was going to be excellent. So I'm going to keep riding the train. I love Damien Pierce. And then Devin Singletary. That guy owns the Dolphins. I'm sure Sammy in the chat knows that. Up against the Dolphins, this man literally destroys us every single time. But didn't work out too well for Devin Singletary at the end of the game there. Dolphins won easily, obviously. Not even a close contest. So I think I like Devin Singletary a decent amount going forward, and I would have CEH ranked a lot higher. And the last thing I'll say here, I'll just keep going on a rant here. Rashad Penny. I'm sorry to everyone who I told to draft Rashad Penny. He looked good at the end of last season. I am maybe the original Rashad Penny hater. I finally bought back into him, and he stabbed me in the back like Arya Stark stabbed the Night King. So I'm gonna go ahead.
Whoa!
Spoiler, bro. That shit came out 4 years ago.
Whoa!
Came out 4 years ago. How was that a spoiler?
Whoa! Oh my God! Put an alert in there.
You don't even give a
people's days.
That literally came out 4 years ago.
I
was a sophomore in college when that came out.
For flex, Mike Williams, AJ Dillon, Damien Pierce.
Mike Will.
I think I might be AJ Dillon on a week playing the Patriots. They're going to be so run heavy. I don't know. I think Dillon's a smash. And Mike Williams still has so much variance with that team being in flux, not healthy at all, and Keenan Allen coming back.
All right.
CEH equals meh. No. He is playing Tampa Bay as well, and that's part of the reason why he's so low. Devin Singletary, I still think he looks like the best running back in that backfield by far. Had a nice receiving touchdown early in the game. But obviously he's third or fourth fiddle on that offense, and they're mixing in Zach Moss plenty still. I'm trying to see if there's any questions here about this tier. CEH or AJ Dillon, Nick?
I'm going with CEH still.
Okay. Dillon, Jeff Wilson, Zeke, and Khalil Herbert. We have Herbert highest, but what do you think about this one?
Herbert and Jeff Wilson. On the Sunday Night Football show, I talked about, oh man, Jordan Mason's going to get some touches. I don't even think he was on the field. So it's Jeff Wilson season in San Francisco. And I like Khalil Herbert a lot.
Jeff Wilson, honestly, I can't believe I'm saying this. Get Jeff Wilson more touches.
Yeah, he's amazing.
That's actually how I feel right now. In yards per touch, he's at 17th in the NFL. In evaded tackles per touch, he's 7th best in the NFL among running backs right now. 6 evaded tackles per game, considering the fact that he's only had 13 carries per game. That means there's like a 40% chance that a would-be tackler is going to get juked by this guy right now. And we know that the San Francisco offense plays through the rushing attack. Debo will be involved, obviously, but Jeff Wilson playing well actually makes this team go at this point. I still think A.J. Dillon's a great play. CW saying Penny will crush this week. Lepri, you feel good about that?
No, I don't. I hope he does, though. Maybe then I could trade him because he's fucking useless right now.
Nick, thank you. The people are saying what I'm saying here.
Oh, well, no, see, look, if I said what happened in this season of House of Dragon, I would never say that. I watched the show on Sunday. I stay up until like 2 a.m. to watch all the games, then watch the show. I'm never going to spoil that, but that did come out that's like if I spoiled the end of The Sopranos. Like, everyone has seen that already, right?
You get some flack when you spoil, regardless of the time frame. I'm not smart enough to adjudicate what the actual time frame between spoilers reveals when they should be societally allowed. But I think you towed the line right there, sir. Which two? Devonte Adams. Well, okay, we got a whole wide receiver episode for you. So I'm going to use this as a little bit of a teaser, Alex. We really appreciate you, and I know you hit us with the super chat, but we got a whole wide receiver centric episode coming at you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern time, right here on the Stokastic Fantasy Football channel. It'll be me. It'll be Nick. It'll be all the wide receiver questions you can handle. And this one will be fun because there's a lot of good matchups, but I do want to take some time and get to more running back focused stuff. J.K. Dobbins, man, didn't look spectacular, but honestly, no running back on the Ravens is. Only Lamar Jackson is looking good as a rusher. Just happy to see him back on the field. What do we have? 7 carries, 2 targets. Didn't do much with it. 4.4 yards per touch. Juked a few players. Actually, this is what I saw. 7 evaded tackles. Really solid. He might still be good.
Yeah, he might still be good. Lamar Jackson, I read something yesterday. I think if you take away his rushing, he's quarterback 6. And if you don't let him throw the ball, he's running back 11. That's pretty good.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
That's insane.
He's very good. Shocker.
Are you trusting Ramondre Stevenson or Damien Harris? Like, we technically have them at 31 and 34 because that's where they'll come out when we project it out. But do you really want them sniffing your lineup at all?
Yeah, no. I talk about this like in my rankings videos every week. Like, once you get to like running back 26, 27, around that range, like things start to get very dicey where it's like you should hope that you don't have to play these guys. Now, obviously, we have to rank them. We have to kind of figure out who has the most upside. But at the end of the day, like, do you really want a team that's going to be in a tougher matchup up against the Packers that has Brian Hoyer's bald ass being the starting quarterback? Do you really expect a lot of points? Do you expect them to be having a lot of opportunity to run the ball? My answer would be no. Dominic in the chat said Edmonds or Stevenson. I would choose Edmonds thousands of times over him. Edmonds didn't look great so far this season, but last week against the Bills, he looked great.
The other issue there is I think they're going to just go back and forth, maybe do a little bit of a 49ers thing with that Miami backfield. They like Edmonds a lot. They just also happen to like Raheem Mostert a lot. So if they're both healthy, they're both going to get solid opportunities. Edmonds, in evaded tackles per touch, he's been okay. Breakaway run rate, okay. I'd like to see more. At least we're at slightly more fantasy points scored than the expectation, meaning he's been relatively efficient. Player I'm hoping to see continue having value is Breece Hall. Zach Wilson, maybe not back this week, but certainly back next week. I don't know what that target share is going to look like for the wide receivers as much as I'm hoping Garrett Wilson continues to be an option. But Joe Flacco is throwing a ton and dumping it down a ton. Will Zach Wilson do the same, especially on that rehabilitated knee that I'm sure they're going to be quite conservative with in the quarterback rushing game? You like Brees all rest of season?
Yeah, I've kind of said this basically the whole time that I was genuinely worried about Brees Hall to start the season. He's going to start slow. He might be one of those guys that is just chilling on your bench. Now, he's finished running back 12 and 18 the last 2 weeks. He's just seen a crazy amount of targets. Like, do you think Zach Wilson's going to target him like week 1 9 times, week 3 11 times? Like,
No,
I don't think so. I don't think so.
But I love it.
I mean,
it for fantasy.
And last week also, like, his running back 18 finish is like the most Mickey Mouse finish ever because the running back sucked last week. Like 12 fantasy points normally doesn't crack running back 18, right?
Yeah, that's true. Miso, if you're able to spin tight ends into Alvin Kamara, my God, man, do that. Go, run, do that. 22 opportunities, even if the efficiency hasn't been there for a little bit for Kamara. You want to chase that kind of volume in fantasy football. I wouldn't start, like, if you were coming for, if I had Kamara and you started with a tight end like that, I'd probably say like, no, thank you. But if you can get that done, go get that done.
I agree.
Brees Hall or Damien Pierce rest of season?
Pierce for me. Again, I really worry about Zach Wilson. I don't know what is going to happen. I worry about all these Jets players because, look, while I think Joe Flacco is a worse player than Zach Wilson, it could completely change how the offense runs.
I have Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, Chase Edmonds, and Alexander Madison. Which 2 backs should I start this week?
I would go with Joe Mixon and Aaron Jones. I don't want to overthink things unless Madison's locked into play. Do we know if Cook's definitely out?
We don't at this point. It actually kind of looks like he is gonna play. To be honest, it says he's gonna wear that shoulder sling he's worn before, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he had 200 yards rushing that first game back in a shoulder sling after separating his shoulder last year. So that seems like all systems go. Obviously, Madison will be much higher if Cook is out.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to hit tier 5, the final rankings tier for us today?
Yes, sir. And sorry if you guys can hear that in the background. There's a garbage truck directly behind my house.
Garbage truck for our garbage takes. Someone came into the chat like 40 minutes before our stream yesterday and just was like, came in, commented, garbage takes. And I was like, are you just doing like a drive-by to live streams that haven't happened yet?
That's funny.
What are we doing here? 38 through 49, running back tier 5. As you were saying, we're trying to kind of stay away from here. I think the one that really surprises me is Daryl Henderson and Cam Akers, both outside the top 40 running backs. I don't know with these two. I guess Cam Akers looked a little bit better, but they're playing a San Francisco defense that's really, really tough. I can't believe San Francisco is actually favored in this game at home, but you can't really trust either of these running backs.
Yeah, especially after Jimmy Garoppolo did the Orlovsky by running backwards. And did you see that thing where he zoomed in on Jimmy's face and he's like talking? I don't know who he's talking to. He's like, these plays suck. Like the plays Shanahan was calling sucked in Jimmy G's mind, he said, which I thought was very funny. Very big.
Jimmy G is in full DGAF mode. Like he didn't show up to practice for a month and a half. And then the second Lance gets hurt, he's like, all right, my team again. What's up, guys? How's everyone doing? I'm going to just throw it sort of towards you. Not accurately, but we're going to give this a go.
Yeah. And to go back to Darrell Henderson versus Cam Akers, at this point, I think it's Akers. Like, I think they just want to give the ball to Akers. But are either of them ideal against the Niners? I don't think so.
Well, we already did that one. We got a couple of questions coming in here in the final moments. Williams, Taylor, and Herbert at flex. Jonathan Taylor?
Has to be. Taylor Holmes?
What? Taylor Heineke? You're starting Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
And Jamal Williams, I think, Alex. Rex Burkhead, I'm not touching him. Travis Etienne, so sad, so sorry. Alexander Madison will be much, much, much higher on the rankings in that London game if Dalvin Cook sits. Right now, Cook is in our projections. What about Nahim Hines? You playing him against a Tennessee team that does not look good defensively?
Dude, come on. Like, is Nahim Hines? Does anyone want to be starting Nahim Hines? If I'm being honest with you, right? Hines is just like he's like Kareem Hunt, but like the mid version of Kareem Hunt. He gets like 6 fantasy points a game. He gets 5-6 targets a game. If he scores a touchdown, then yeah, he'll be good. Up against Tennessee, I just don't see it. I don't like the matchup personally.
2 out of 3 weeks, he's had 9 opportunities, 2/3 of which have been targets. It's kind of an interesting archetype for full PPR leagues. For half PPR, it's less exciting. And in yards per route run, as you would expect, this is his specialty. He's number 4 in the NFL. He's evading some tackles. He's doing all right. I get why, especially if you're doing full PPR leagues, you can put him around running back 35, put him in as a what the heck flex, and sometimes even get some breakaway runs as well. He also tends to have a ton of his carries come with light fronts, meaning 6 or less players in the box and under shotgun as well. Not your favorite. You're never going to be excited starting him, but at the same time, I think Hines, in an offense that seems unable to throw the ball downfield, is going to be an okay player this year for fantasy.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention something real quick. Jameis was not at practice today, and they're saying that Taysom Hill is practicing as the quarterback. In any league where you can play Taysom Hill as the tight end, you should be running to the waiver wire right now. I understand it doesn't have anything to do with the running back position, but I figured that's very interesting. That's what I'm doing right now, picking him up. Hopefully you're probably going to pick him up in our fantasy league. You're number 1, I'm number 2, so sucks to be second place, you know.
Oh man, and are waivers about to run? Because I need to get that going right now. Well, that's probably good timing because it's 10:40. We've done all 5 tiers of running backs. Hopefully St. Brown plays. Yes, I want Amon-Ra St. Brown to be okay because that Detroit offense looks a lot of fun. Guys, we got to mention them. I bet you all have checked it out already, but check out promo code Stokastic when you're going over to Underdog Fantasy. If your best ball teams from the summer aren't doing great or your fantasy teams are having some trouble, get over there, get into the Best Ball Resurrection Tournament. I'm taking a lot of shots over there. Starts in week 6, ends week 17. $10 entry can net you up to $100K in prizes, and promo code Stokastic gets you free money when you make your first deposit. They match that deposit up to $100. That's simple. And here's what else is simple. You come right back, 10 a.m. tomorrow. It's Nick. It's me. We talk wide receivers. We'll get you ready for the Thursday night games if you got any tough start-sit decisions. We got you covered. We're winning some championships here at the Stokastic Fantasy Football channel. Nick, any final words for the people before we get out of here?
Thank you guys for coming out today. I greatly appreciate everyone watching. I hope everyone has a great rest of your guys' day. And someone asked, is Herbert worth the first waiver wire spot? 100%. So thank you guys for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button. And fuck the Bengals. The Dolphins are going to beat them by 50 tomorrow on Thursday.
You heard it here first. It's as simple as that. Oh, man. Follow this man at Notorious FNTSY. You know him. He's Nick Lepri. My name is Matt Savoca. You can follow me too at Draftaholic. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Talking wide receivers. For Nick, I'm Matt. We'll see you guys later. I'm trying to leave. All right, well, video clip not playing, I guess. This is fun. Well, we love you all. Bye.